James had always been a man of control. In the early years of their marriage, Sarah had seen glimpses of his temper, but she convinced herself it was nothing to worry about. He provided for them, made sure the bills were paid, and always maintained a strong presence in the home. But as the years passed, his anger became more unpredictable. At first, it was just words, sharp, demeaning comments that left her feeling small. Then, it became slamming doors, throwing objects, and long, silent treatments that made the air in their home unbearably tense. Their daughter, Emily, had grown up watching it all. At 16, she had learned to tiptoe around her father's moods, to anticipate when a storm was coming and brace herself for the fallout. But unlike her mother, she was not willing to accept it as the way things had to be. She had seen enough in the world, in her friends' homes, in the stories she read online, to know that what was happening was not normal. And more than anything, she wanted to escape. One evening, after another explosive argument in which James had broken a plate against the wall and sent Sarah retreating to the bedroom in tears, Emily sat beside her mother on the bed. "Mom, we can't live like this," she whispered. Sarah shook her head. "He controls everything, Emily. Our money, our home. If we leave, where do we go?" Emily clenched her fists. "We don't have to leave without a plan, but we need proof. If we have proof, we can go to the police. We can get help." Sarah hesitated. The thought of standing against James terrified her. She had spent years believing she was powerless. But looking into her daughter's determined eyes, she realized that Emily had not yet been broken, and she wouldn't let James break her either. That night, Emily downloaded a voice recording app on her phone. She kept it in her pocket at all times, recording whenever James was home. At first, it was just verbal abuse, harsh words, insults, controlling demands. Then, one evening, things escalated. James had come home from work in a bad mood. He was already irritated, and when he saw that dinner was not ready, his face darkened. "What have you been doing all day?" he demanded. Sarah, who had spent hours cleaning the house and running errands, opened her mouth to explain. But before she could speak, he had grabbed a glass from the counter and hurled it against the sink. It shattered into tiny pieces, some of them landing near Emily's feet. Emily's hand shook as she pressed record on her phone. "You are useless," James spat. "I work all day, and I come home to this? What kind of wife are you?" Sarah, voice barely above a whisper, said, "I'm trying." "Trying?" James scoffed. "Trying isn't enough." The night ended with Sarah in tears, and James slamming the bedroom door shut. But Emily had captured everything. The next day, she played the recording for her mother. "This is it," she said. "This is what we need." Over the next week, they continued gathering evidence. Sarah started writing down every incident, noting dates and details. Emily kept recording. Then, one night, James went too far. He had been drinking. Not enough to be completely out of control, but enough to let his temper flare unchecked. When Sarah made an offhand comment about his drinking habits, he turned on her. "Don't you ever tell me what to do," he growled. He grabbed her wrist, tightly. Too tightly. Emily, standing in the doorway, felt her stomach twist. Her father had never laid a hand on them before, but now, watching her mother wince in pain, she knew this was the moment. She stepped forward, holding up her phone. "Let go of her," she said, her voice steady. James turned, confused at first, then enraged. "What are you doing?" "I recorded everything," she said. "Everything you've done, everything you've said, and I sent it to the police." She hadn't sent it yet, but she knew it was the only way to stop him. James froze. His grip on Sarah's wrist loosened. For the first time, he looked unsure. "You wouldn't," he said, but there was something in Emily's eyes, something fierce, something unbreakable. Sarah took a deep breath, stepping beside her daughter. "We're done living like this, James. We're leaving." For a moment, he didn't move. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed out of the house. That night, Sarah and Emily packed their bags. They took everything, the recordings, the journal, the evidence, and drove straight to the police station. Within days, James was arrested. The evidence was undeniable. As Sarah and Emily stood outside the courthouse, breathing in the fresh air of freedom, Sarah finally understood. They had been afraid for too long, but together, they had found their strength. And now, they would never be afraid again.